Right. Looks like this is going. Oh, it's interesting. I usually have the chat available in OBS, but that didn't seem to work this time. It's all right. Hi. Stream number 12. Here we are. This was supposed to happen last week, but life happened, which is fine. And a good lesson for me. I didn't have any kind of plan to tell folks, that I had to cancel last minute. All I did was move the stream date. So, a good lesson. I want to have some, backup material prepared for next time. Maybe that's changing the thumbnail. Maybe that's sending out an email or a tweet. I'll have to do some investigating to see how other streamers handle, last minute changes in their schedule where they, plan to stream and then aren't able to for whatever reason. If you follow any other streamers and you've seen them handle that situation gracefully, I would very much appreciate a comment explaining either how they did that or a link to, them talking about that. Because, I don't want to leave folks hanging. Cool. So let's get into it. All right. Let's look at our poll results. Got a vote for the table row components. It was either that or working on the side panel. To catch folks up, since it has been a minute, table rows would be these rows in the main budget area of YNAB, and then those side panel accordions are going to be these white sections here in this right-hand side panel. But yeah, this is a good follow-up because, we were working on maybe, the past two, at least two, maybe three streams, these individual cells and building subcomponents for those. So let's go full screen with this and hop over to Figma. I cheated a little bit. I had an unread comment here from Jared that I opened early. But yeah, I want to investigate this right off the bat. Carbon has an implementation of a cell. In case you're interested, there's a lot going on, but they also use multiple wrappers. Ooh, I am interested in that. Multiple wrappers immediately makes me think of like base components, which I've since kind of soured on for a component library. But yeah, let's take a look. So we're in version 11, Carbon Design System, view only here. Okay, wow, so this is an entire cell here. Oh, and they're using a resizer. This is something I would love to write a blog post about if this is what I think it is. But already by the name and seeing that it's taking up, where's the dimensions here? Yeah, doesn't have any height to it. I expect if I open this, I'm going to see a couple of endpoints, and the auto layout settings are going to be set to, like push them apart and then set that space between value as a way to edit the width of this while maintaining its hug setting, which is a really neat thing to do for setting things like minimum width. Yep, start and end. Okay, cool. Good to see this in the wild. I feel like it doesn't come up too often. All right, so within cell, you've got your resizer and then like the actual cell. And then there's content. Oh, and a minimum height object as well. That makes sense. I'd probably put it on the other side. It doesn't really matter. That's neat. And then obviously there's text and a slot in case you don't want the text. This makes a lot of sense. I guess, yeah, Jared, what you mentioned about like multiple wrappers, it's just that there's a lot maybe going on in here. I was expecting more like components on components on components within this, but my assumption was wrong, which I'm happy about. I think what I'm seeing here, oh, okay, and this is just, I wish I could edit. Can I go to main component? I just want to see what the slot looks like, because there's some stuff in there. Yeah, this is, it's an interesting approach, putting this sort of, I guess, like documentation in your slot, right? So that way folks know there's just another way to communicate, like, hey, this is not a piece of interface. Please swap this out. Optional placeholder component, replace it with any other component. This one's interesting though, because it's got two different sizes, and I wonder what that's about. I will investigate later. But this is really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to not mark that resolved. Cool. So yeah, we're working on table cells. So I've got the screenshot here that we were using last time, and I've got like this frame sitting on top of it. I was getting all, not bent out of shape, but gosh, I was just really obsessed with like getting that minimum height figured out. And I mean, maybe that's why you shared it, Jared, but then maybe that's something that's like a technique I could leverage with these table rows, right? I'm also sort of inclined to just like set them to fill vertically, and then have the parent container like this. Here it would be frame 16 or frame 17 down here set to a fixed height, but we'll see. Can always change our minds, right? So yeah, we've actually got the beginnings of some table cells here. So already, yeah, I've got the labels correct for representing this row, but I don't yet have the icons. I guess, and let's put these in order. So I guess, let's see, let's start naming these instead of frame 16 and 17 and all that. So this guy is the budget toolbar. And that would be an interface representative. This guy sits below, that is going to be that's a category row, is my guess. Let's see if I'm right. It might be something slightly different, but, or I'm sorry, category group would be probably the more appropriate. Budget table row, master category. Not what I would have expected. But just knowing from YNAB's like user-facing documentation, this is a category group, and then these items within rent, internet, groceries, those are categories. And we still need cells for those. So let's change the type. The font's going to be different. Yeah, we'll have to adjust the components within, except for this one. They're both going to need those checkboxes. It looks like we kind of have like a spacer going on here, which I wonder in Figma if we don't really need that, if we could maybe get away with making some padding adjustments like this to just account for this space that we're seeing. Which is really nice. You know, the text all lines up. These are nested underneath this category group row. So it would be weird if the text was over to the left here. But yeah, we'll start at the, oh, knocking into my microphone. We'll start at the top. You know, I might as well just grab these icons. I think I've been putting that off for long enough. And I can demo the plugin that I use for that. So if you inspect and you see that you've got SVGs to work with, which we do, and you're able to copy paste the path itself, let's see, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to with this one, and maybe that's why I've been putting this off. But you can use this plugin to paste that path in, which is great. And then you've got your SVG. So I'm just hoping I'm going to have better luck with this undo here. Oh, maybe not. Like, I'll show you an example. I think I was able to do it with these. No, okay. How did I do that? I might have to go back and watch my past streams. Okay, kind of goofy, but I'm just going to see what happens when I copy the SVG tag and paste that in. No. But if I run paste SVG, yeah, that's not what this wants. It wants like all of those nodes in instead. I've definitely done this. So I'm looking for a past icon. Maybe things have changed. Maybe they've put out an update that makes this a lot harder. These guys I definitely grabbed at one point. Yeah, no, that's not what I wanted. Huh. Okay. Icons are going to have to be for another time. If you know how to, or if, yeah, folks watching either live or after the fact have a technique for grabbing icons out of the web and getting them into Figma, that'd be great. What I don't want to do is try and like trace these myself with the pen tool, or just use screenshots. Definitely not. Yeah, so I'm wondering how I can go about snagging these guys. Is there another view in Inspector that lets me not look at HTML? Let's see. Use href. So like this is where it's coming from, perhaps? I wonder if there's... Just another place here that I could grab things. Oh well. All right, well, we've got those buttons, but that is not the whole row. You can see over to the right here, you know, we've been really focusing on this side. This is where most of the information is. But if we follow this row to the right, we've got these guys. We've got some buttons here. And what these do, just, you know, they offer different views for your table. Let's see. Progress bars off, progress bars on. Interesting hover states too. Yeah, so all this does is, you know, show and hide some progress bars in the table rows, which does affect their height. So if we, I'm actually going to take a screenshot of this at its full size. And I wonder if, you know, I can actually grab a copy of our checkbox. I wonder if our checkbox here is a good size to work off of. And I'm now doubting if that screenshot is like blown up or not. So these are 24 by 24. Okay, yeah, they're much bigger, which is fine. Cool. And these will need to be icons too. So I'll grab some rectangles for now. These icons I am comfortable just going ahead and drawing. They look like they're slightly rounded. And I know I have this blue color. It's not one of these teals. Yeah, I think it is just regular old blue. So what I would do with this is just collapse that so it's a flat shape. We could put that in a frame. Or actually, not put it in a frame, but I want to come up with, go over to our other icons and see what standard size I'm using. 12 by 12 for everybody. So this is 13 by 12. So I will put that in a frame. Not going to have auto layout on it because we have this icon wrapper, which I think I demoed in past streams. I'll make sure to include that in the description, how that guy works. And I'm just checking my, yeah, everything's set to scale. So we can just update these. Ah, well, that's not quite what I wanted. Okay, I'm gonna remove that shape first. We'll do, what was it, 12 by 12. Now we can put this in. And it's slightly bigger on one side. So, ooh, I think I am just gonna like shrink that down. And what will we call this? This is a category view icon. So we can rename this icon category view. expanded. And we'll have another one for collapsed, which is just a similar visual arrangement, but now we've got a third rectangle in here. So I think what I'll do is just copy all these guys and then squish them. I'm okay with that being close enough, yeah. And I imagine this will be the same deal, but collapsed. Right, there's that div. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, I had to click on it, so we're swapping out. Okay, compact, that's the name. Cool. And my icons are flat black. So I'm gonna actually remove this, put in a bunch of zeros, and we will create multiple components. So now we've got those icons, which is great. Grab these. Come back over to where we were working. All right, and this will not be our checkbox, but instead, I think I would call this, I mean, you know, we've got like two different views. It's not binary in that it's like on or off. They could certainly offer more views in the future. But for now, maybe we can call it like, it's kind of like a toggle switch. So I'm wondering if this could be like category view, toggle buttons, something like that. All right, so here, 2 pixel stroke looks correct. I don't want that teal, I want the blue. And we can drop in our newly created icon. So we're gonna need some states for these guys. For now, let's get the grays correct. The stroke is definitely lighter than like the actual icon. I'm just setting up the states here. So we've got our activated states and then our inactive states. Not that one, it's a little lighter. Might even be lighter than that, actually, this gray. Bring this to the front. Yeah, I'm way too dark with these, both of these, so we can stand to go a step lighter on each. That is it. There it is. Okay. So we've got 100 for the stroke, 200 for the icon. Oh, there we are. Okay, cool. So these will become component sets. Ooh, okay. Here's a question. Do we combine all of them as a component set? Or do they stay separate? Oh, and real quick, I just had a thought, a kind of housekeeping thought that I need to, okay. So coming back to the icons here real quick, something I want to do is to make sure that overriding color on icons, you know, those overrides get protected anytime I'm swapping from one icon to another. I need to make sure that the layer structure between these is good. So when I made these, looks like when I flattened those rectangles, just changed the name to vector, which is great because when I look at my other icons, that's the same naming, same capitalization, which I don't think matters, but I do it to be safe. Yeah, so that's good. I just wanted to check and see that they weren't named something else that could throw off my overrides. Okay, back to this question. Do these make sense as a set of 4 or should they stay separate? They are, it is the same component. So for that reason, I'm inclined to combine all of them as variants. Oh, what's going on here? Drag and drop components from your assets panel. Oh, thank you, Figma, but I knew that. I wonder if some set of keys that I pressed activated that. Okay. They are the same component. It's kind of like duplicated with two different states that you can go between. And this is really interesting. Check this out. This cell just has like a huge, you know, auto set left margin to push it over there. So that whole thing is the cell. But yeah, when we come in here to this div, we can see that depending on which one we have selected here, we're just kind of swapping out the value of that ARIA label. So this whole thing is kind of one object. So I think I'm gonna combine them as variants for that reason. Let's do 16 and 16. All right. Yeah, so we're gonna need some properties for this. So what might we call... Again, my type is just such a good good property name for just like deciding something and moving on, but I wonder if I could come up with something better for that. So not only do we have two different types here, right? Expanded and compact, but we also have a sense of state. And actually I'm missing some here too. Let's zoom in a little more. If I get out of inspect here and I just hover over these, do they have hover states? Maybe not. I think you can just click on them. Hold on, let me get fully out of inspect. Okay, they do have hover states. There's a hover state for the unselected one, which makes sense, right? Like they're sort of like radios in that way. You can't, like, if I click on this, nothing happens because it's already selected. But I could swap to something else. So we're gonna need a hover state here. And it looks like all that's happening there is the background is getting darker, quite dark actually. And I wonder if it's the same color as the stroke. It looks like it is. So there's our states. So we've got actually a couple things going on here. It's like, is it selected or is it not selected? So just like it is in the interface, we're going to use, I'd like to use a Boolean property here. So selected is either, that's a yes, no question, right? In this case, it's true. In this case, it's false. And then we have a third variant to handle that hover state, right? Where you've got default. These are both default. It's this third one that is hover. Now, can we also focus on them? Well, okay, here's another thing. Ooh, I'm so excited about this. I saw Louis, designer advocate Louis, tweeted about this recently. That method that I mentioned, I learned from Molly Helmuth's design system course. And he was thinking about it the same way I was, where it's like, not only can you, you know, yeah, am I using shadows here? This isn't what I want to be doing for focus state. I don't want to treat it as something with shadows. I'd rather use absolute positioning and on a frame and strokes to handle that, and going even further, componentizing that state. So you can drop it in as like, you know, a nested layer within a component or variant set. And then what's cool about that, since it's a layer, you can use component properties to just say like focus state on or off. And then you don't even have to like do a whole variant to handle it. So it's, I think, going to be just so much more efficient. I'm super excited about it. But I'm stuck. I kind of remember talking about that, but maybe I hadn't, like in a past stream, but I don't know if I built it. Shoot. Well, it's a big enough deal. I don't want to do it in the last like 6 minutes of this stream. So I'll save it for another time. But what I do want to see here, yeah, we do have a focus state. And in this case, it looks like it's kind of, no, that's standard. It's looking standard at least. You can see when I'm on this button, we have this additional white ring. But over here, I mean, maybe the white ring is present, but it's just that we're on a white background, so we can't see it. I think that's probably more likely. Oh, that'll be fun. Oh, man. Okay. This kind of a shape, I don't think I'll be able to do. But you know, I think that's all right. Like, that's where it's really nice that you can just mock stuff up. You don't, like, your components can get really close. I think you got to figure out, you got to decide, like, is it worth it? Is it worth, like, the time and effort to, like, make Figma components actually match what reality will be in the code? And I think sometimes the answer is no. It's like, I'd rather just do a mock-up. And especially, I mean, I don't think it's possible. I know that in Figma prototypes, you can now, like, text is readable by screen readers, but I don't know that you can actually tab through. And so for, like, prototyping purposes and just, like, what Figma is used for, right? It's like, how important is it that we get this kind of accuracy baked into the component? Can we not just mock it up to communicate to developers, like, this is what we would expect this focus state to look like on this particular object, and leave it at that? Is this kind of a thing necessary in prototypes to have part of the component? Are designers really reaching for this focus state so often in their prototypes? I don't know. Like, maybe for your team, maybe not for my team. I think everybody's going to have, you know, depending on a whole suite of factors, they're going to optimize for different things. So, but this is good to see. So focus states, I think already I'm going to make that an option for the next stream, something folks can vote on. And yeah, we'll apply it here. So real quick, 3 minutes left. Let's get this arranged. First, we're going to need some prototyping interactions. So we already know that there's nothing that you can do when you're in this, like, selected state, right? But these guys are the ones that are interactive. So when you are hovering on one of these lighter guys, you get the hover state. And when you click on a hover state, you get jumped up to here. Now, oh, and yeah, we're good. So, but the actual toggle switch that we need, so it's this arrangement, specifically left and right like this. Let's see how distant they are from each other. We are going to need to set it up so that way you can't have, like, both selected at the same time, right? We can't, Figma's not yet smart enough to, we have to, like, manually build that toggle switch kind of behavior. Okay, 4 pixels between. They're doing that with a margin. Neat. So what's happening here? Oh, hold on. How come when... Oh, I don't think I have my property set up correctly. So let's just double check everything. So the type is default. That's not what we want. We want these to all be expanded, and these are all compacted. I want them to be, you know, consistent that way. So this will stay expanded. Right, now when we deselect it, it just goes gray, and this one's on. So these are the 2 states that we can go between, right? And the hover state is handled by the component. So what we can do here is create a component set. This will be our category view toggle, right? And we can say when clicking on this one, jump down, or, you know, swap out for that variant. When clicking on this one, jump up to here, and we can do a very brief prototype test. And this will be probably the last bit of the stream here. Gosh, so I apologies, I was hardly working on the row component. It ended up being mostly these toggle switches. But yeah, you can see this is working here. That hover state is getting handled by the component. We can just flip back and forth. So that's looking good. Close out of here too. Cool. Yeah, so I'm already pretty settled on it. Like that will be the next two options. We can keep if folks are not interested in that focus state, we can continue, you know, building the pieces we need for these table rows, or we can do focus state. I've kind of got a bias myself, but I will honor the rule I've set for myself, which is newsletter subscribers get to decide. So if you subscribe within the next week, yeah, you'll get that email from me where folks can vote in a poll on what I work on. That date would be, as long as life doesn't happen again, right? Let's see, April 20th. So we're just going to pick up from here. It's, you know, off from my original schedule, but is what it is. Next week, I'll send out that summary of what went down in this stream. You'll get the poll to vote. And then on the 20th, I'll be back here building whatever y'all would like to see me build between those two options that I'll provide. So thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.